You have told me Jesus' resurrection was much more than just overcoming death. What do you mean by this?
Well, you know, let, let me back up just for a second. And let me say this last thing about seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, the title. Now, not only in my book do I talk about books and I recommend books, and some of them are for important reasons. And in the first chapter, I recommend three books: Holy Science, Autobiography, and Yoga, and James Redfield's first right, which was The Celestine Prophecy. It was written in the early 90s, and a lot of people have read that now. It's like in 10 different languages. It's been over 20 million copies. I mean, it's just been amazing. But I had, in those days, in the 90s, once it hit book form, I would have all my private students read that book, and I'd have them read it for two reasons. I said, now, what's the synopsis you got out of reading this book? He said, well, God, when you have a relationship with God, he begins to speak with you first in the language of synchronicity. And I said, that's very good. That's absolutely true. What was the second? And most of the time that went right by them. They didn't catch it. And I said, well, what's he say toward the end of his book? He says, if you keep your energy and your vibration high, then synchronicity accelerates, right? So if that's God's language, I would like to talk to him all the time, wouldn't you?
Yep.
So all I need to do, so to me, the kingdom of heaven is the vibration, the energy, the pulsation. We used to call it the pulse of life. That's it. Now, Jesus, watch this. Now, Jesus, just weeks before the crucifixion and the resurrection, he raises up one of his best friends, Lazarus, right? And remember that transfiguration happened a few weeks before that, and three apostles see Moses, who had died, but obviously gets resurrected. Okay, so we saw that example. Then we see Elijah that doesn't taste death, that's raised up on the flame, and he's there. And then Jesus is there, and as there's a blend of what he's getting ready to do, and part of both of their lives tell what's getting ready to happen. But Jesus doesn't just overcome death. Had he just overcome death himself after being put to death, that would have been incredible. But it was so much more than that, because Jesus, at that time, the Jewish faith was just needed a push about life after death. Because they really were not getting into that yet. And they needed a push about that. But the church feels, for the most part, the most body of the church feels like that was Jesus's big message. That was only the beginning of Jesus's message. The real message is what Jimmy was alluding to earlier, was the spirit, mind, and body are one. It's what ancient India, the city yoga, is called the true chanda. Spirit, mind, and body are one, magenta dot and the third eye. And Jesus says, you know what? I'm going to stick around and rub life in your face for 40 more days. I'm going to break bread with you. I'm going to eat fish. He even drank wine on a couple occasions. He did all of this, but at the same time, I'm going to go into the sky, like Keanu Reeves did in The Matrix, or Superman does. I'm going to come in through a wall, but I'm going to leave through a ceiling. You say, how do you know that? They don't talk about it in the scripture, because we had people there. We had people with Jesus from his birth till his assumption and ascension, 40 days. We were the only organization that did. We know firsthand what this being did. But he did it for a reason. And what was the reason? Well, remember earlier in scripture what he said, these things I do, ye shall do, because I ascend unto the Father, and I go prepare a place for you. He's telling us exactly how it's supposed to happen. He said, you know what? That's not good enough. I can't teach by words. I need to teach by example. True leader always leads from the front, never from the back. So he's going to stick around, stinking dead, still showing the wound in the side, the wounds in the wrist and the hand, around the head, letting everybody know he was that same person they put on the cross. But now he's got the golden, watch this, incorruptible body. Incorruptible body he's got. The perfect body, the golden child. That's what he's got. He's telling us this is what we're supposed to be able to do when we get all the way through the Kundalini. We get all the way through second birth, all the chakras of balance. One is as bright as the sunlight, and you can have dominion over the third, the fourth, and the fifth dimension, because that was initially granted to all of us that were with him in the beginning as the Spirit of truth. And the angels have been waiting for at least 144,000 people that could do what Jesus did in the 40 days from the resurrection to the ascension. That's why I want people to pay attention to it.